Chapter 11, Part 2. How to create a decontamination hose. Decontamination hoses are made by cutting small pieces of damaged pneumatic hose, placing both regulator ends on the hose, and marking the hose in some way to identify it as non-functional. A popular way of making the hose is with red tape, as seen in 11.15. Care of air hoses. All pneumatic air-powered equipment must be attached to an air hose to operate. Sterilization issues are the primary reason air hoses fail because heat from sterilization breaks down the rubber components and O-rings and causes air leakage. To clean the hose, use a mild detergent. Don't allow fluids to enter the hose and never use abrasives to wash the hose liner. Take care when coiling the hose during handling. Proper coil size for sterilization should be 9 to 12 inches. Hoses should not be coiled tightly. Battery-powered instruments. Battery-powered surgical instruments are high-powered and work well with the procedures performed on larger, denser bones. Total hip and knee replacement surgeries are examples of such procedures. See 11.16. Batteries and chargers are specific to each system and are not interchangeable. Additional space must be provided to accommodate the chargers. See 11.17 for an example. Figure 11.18 provides examples of battery-powered instruments. Common powered surgical instruments. Dermatome, dermabraders for harvesting skin grafts or reshaping skin surfaces. Cebotomes for removing bone cement. Sternal saws to split the sternum and allow access for open heart surgery. Dental drills for repair or reconstructive work on teeth and jawbones. Micro drills for reshaping middle ear bones or driving very small wires through the bones. Wire drivers, drills, and saws in the appropriate size and shape to work on the smallest fascial bones to the largest bones, such as those in the leg. And finally, saws designed to perform specific cutting actions, such as reciprocating or oscillating. To properly care for and handle battery-powered instruments, first, never immerse handpieces, attachments, or batteries in any solution, including water unless approved by the manufacturer. Next, clean surgical debris from attachments and handpieces using brushes and a manufacturer-recommended mild detergent. Next, rinse with water while assuring that the water does not enter the battery contact area. Next, use a decontamination battery to protect electrical components and moisture. See Figure 11.19. Check all moving parts for cleanliness and function. See Figure 11.20. Lubricate the handpiece with the type and amount of lubricant recommended by the equipment manufacturer. Note, not all powered instrumentation or accessories are lubricated. Refer to the device's instruction for use. Next, some manufacturers recommend operating handpieces to ensure proper functioning and dispersing lubrication if added prior to packaging or sterilizing. See Figure 11.21. Next, attach accessories, including batteries, to the handpiece to ensure they fit properly. See Figure 11.22. And finally, package and sterilize the device per manufacturer recommendations. Special racks or positioning devices may be needed to ensure that all device surfaces are properly exposed to the sterilant and to ensure that condensation does not collect. Some types of packaging, such as peel packs, are not suitable for all types of powered equipment, instruments, and accessories. Check manufacturer's packaging recommendations. We're going to skip back to page 210 in a highlighted blue area. I'm going to read you how to create decontamination battery. How to create a decontamination battery. Locate a dead, unrepairable battery for each style of powered surgical instrument. Use instrument marking tape to mark with a red X on the battery packs. and keep these batteries in the decontamination area. An example of this is in figure 1119. When battery-powered equipment enters the central service decontamination area, select and insert the appropriate battery pack to protect the electrical components from moisture. Note, while this does not help prevent moisture from entering the unit, care should still be taken to avoid contact with excess moisture. Now back over to page 211 to common reasons for powered equipment and repairs. Common reasons for powered equipment and repairs. Powered surgical equipment is expensive to produce, purchase, and repair. Everyone who handles this equipment should use caution to prevent damage. Common causes of damage include corrosion of internal components from condensation, steam, fluid invasion, or improper cleaning. Physical damage due to mishandling, see figure 11.23. Lack of improper prevention and maintenance. Motorized handpieces are very delicate and expensive and require special care. Proper use and handling, along with regular prevention, maintenance, and service, will help ensure that the devices are available for safe and effective use. Endoscopes. The term endoscopy means looking inside. Endoscopic procedures allow a physician to look inside the body through the use of an endoscope. Endoscopic procedures are considered minimally invasive because they do not involve a large incision. The minimally invasive instrumentation allows the physician to perform procedures either through natural body openings like the mouth, nose, anus, or through small incisions that provide access for endoscopic instrumentation. This instrumentation may be used to view a specific area of the body or with the addition of other instruments and perform multiple types of surgeries. Endoscope, defined, an instrument used to examine the interior of a hollow organ or body cavity. All endoscopes allow for light and image transmission. Some endoscopes also provide a working channel, allowing the surgeon to perform surgical procedures. The first endoscopes were developed in Germany in the 1800s. However, the use and development of endoscopes became more popular after World War II. In the 1950s, the flexible endoscope was introduced. Today, fiber optics, a technology uses glass or plastic threads and fibers to transmit data, and light-emitting diodes, or LED, are the primary carrier sources of light for an endoscope surgery. Light-emitting diodes defined, or LED, semiconductor diode that emits light when voltage is applied. LED act as tiny light bulbs. Fiber optics do not produce light. Instead, they act as wires to carry light generated from an external source. See figure 11.24, which shows that light fibers before final assembly. Each strand of glass carries light from the light guide post to the distal end of the endoscope in that photo. Proper light is a critical factor in endoscopic procedures, as the quality of the image or pictures is largely dependent on the light quality and quantity. It is important to check the endoscope, the light source, and the carrier or fiber optic cord to ensure that they are in working order each time the endoscope is processed. The dark areas in figure 11.25 indicate damaged light fibers. The second function of endoscopes is to transmit the reflected image back to the surgeon's eye or to a video system. Figure 11.26 shows endoscopy with the use of a video system. This can be accomplished through the use of fiber optic bundles or computer chips inside the scope. Endoscope classification. The term endoscope describes all devices that are used to view inside a body cavity. Figure 11.27 shows the different classifications of endoscopes. It is important when discussing endoscopes to properly classify the type of endoscope in use because function, care, and handling process are different for each classification. This section will focus on rigid and semi-rigid and flexible endoscopes. The classification of rigid, semi-rigid, and flexible relates to an endoscope's ability to bend without damaging the device. Rigid and flexible endoscopes can be further classified according to how the image is captured. This divides rigid and flexible endoscopes into two broad categories: video and non-video. Operative and non-operative endoscopes. The first endoscopes were non-operative, meaning the surgeon could view anatomy through the device but could not perform a surgical procedure such as a biopsy. Operative endoscope technology permitted surgeons to do much more than diagnose a condition. Surgeons could then perform corrective surgery with these new minimally invasive instruments. Surgical procedures such as laparoscopy, and arthroscopy came into demand as physicians and patients realized the benefit of shorter hospitalizations, less painful surgical procedures, lower healthcare associated infections or HAIs, and faster recovery time. An operative endoscope has a working channel, a lumen, through which instruments or accessories can be passed to perform surgical procedures. See Figure 11.28, operative and non-operative rigid scopes. Technological advancements continue today across surgical specialties, much of which has been fueled by smaller instruments and endoscopes. For example, surgeons can perform endoscopic, abdominal, arthroscopic, urological, otolaryngal, cardiac, and neurosurgical procedures. Recent endoscopic developments permit heart conditions to be treated without opening the chest or cutting the ribs. Pituitary surgeries can now be performed through the sinus cavity, and saliva gland stones can be removed endoscopically. Further, lesions in the gastrointestinal tract and lungs can be directly visualized, and diagnostic biopsies and therapeutic procedures can be performed without surgery or general anesthesia. Endoscope use and selection. Endoscopes are chosen by the physician based on the type of procedure they are performing. Rigid endoscopes are appropriate for viewing the anatomy where there is a straight line access to the site. Semi-rigid endoscopes are useful where the line to the surgical site is relatively straight. However, some slight bending of the scope shaft may be needed to access the site, such as the bladder in surgery. Flexible endoscopes are used where straight line access is not possible, such as when viewing the esophagus, lung, kidney, or large intestine. Whether a rigid, semi-rigid, or flexible endoscope is used, the device acts as the eye of the surgeon. Due to their delicate construction, as well as their size and frequent handling, endoscopes are at risk for being damaged every time they are handled. In a single cycle of use, the endoscope can be handled by 8 or more people. Rigid and semi-rigid endoscopes. Rigid endoscopes range in size from the very tiny 1.9 millimeter scopes used in a salivendoscopy, internal viewing of the salivary glands, to a 15 millimeter scope used for robotic surgical procedures. Rigid endoscopes can be constructed using rigid rod lenses, non-video, or with video chip mounted in the distal tip end, video. See Figure 11.29 for an example of both. All rigid endoscopes are generally manufactured using tubes of stainless steel. Rigid endoscopes are designed to follow for some minimal flexing of the shaft, but damage will occur beyond the flex limits. A general rule is that a rigid endoscope should not be bent. Fiber optics are housed between the inner and outer tubes and transmit light from the light guidepost to the distal end of the endoscope. See Figure 11.30 for an example. Operative rigid endoscopes have a working channel that allows the surgeon to pass instruments to perform surgery. Specialty rigid endoscopes provide the ability to change the direction of the view. The endoscope pictured in figure 11.31 allows the surgeon to change the direction of the view by rotating a knob near the eyepiece. Other specialty endoscopes contain filters that help the surgeon identify diseased tissue when used in combination with pharmaceuticals and or different spectrum light sources. Semi-rigid endoscopes. Semi-rigid endoscopes are termed as such because the shaft is made of very thin stainless steel, thus allowing it to bend slightly without kinking the metal. Semi-rigid endoscopes are primarily used in urology to view the bladder and the distal portion of the ureter. See figure 11.32 for an example. While they have the ability to bend slightly more than a rigid scope, they will be damaged if too much pressure is applied or if they are bent beyond their intended limits.